The Canadian housing market is a dumpster fire. For us younger generations, we are screwed, and there's nothing we can do about it except for blame the boomer landlords. What if I told you that I have dedicated the last 3 months using my coding and AI skills to wreak havoc on the greedy landlords across our country? And what if I told you it actually kind of worked? Imagine being your parents in 1995, making an average Joe salary, and you decide to save up for a down payment on a house. That would take you about 5 years. Not too bad. In the year 2025, however, still making that average Joe income, it would take you 14 years to save up for a down payment. The cost of living has significantly outpaced the increase in salaries. And as someone who lives in Vancouver, I feel this financial pressure myself, and I am terrified of moving out. God forbid it makes me move to somewhere like Burnaby? Ew. Also, even Burnaby is expensive. Like, what's going on there? Our generation is struggling to pay rent. Meanwhile, boomer landlords are making millions off of home equity. And I've had enough. There is, however, some good news. In 2025, rent prices are actually starting to drop. The average rent in Vancouver and Toronto is down about 9% since last year, and it's starting to gain some momentum. And this is great, but there's still a few problems that are inhibiting this progress. Some landlords are complying and reducing their rent as to adjust to the market trend, and they're being pretty reasonable about it. But some landlords are still trying to charge $3,000 for a studio the size of a shoebox where you have to smell your kitchen trying to fall asleep. Ridiculous postings like these grind my gears for multiple reasons. First, having a price like this, the unit will probably sit unoccupied for a few months at least. And this helps nobody. Also, these kinds of postings will make other landlords think that they can get more out of their listings as well, even if it's not getting rented. It sort of has this chain reaction of inspiring other landlords to try and price gouge as well. But finally, the thing that pisses me off the most is that they can post something like this and not get any repercussions for it. Like, why in this age of the internet is this the only time you can post something controversial online and not get any backlash? It doesn't make sense to me. Therefore, my solution to all of this is to start spreading hate. My goal is to peer pressure these landlords to reduce their prices faster, and they should feel the heat if they try and price gouge our generation. And at first glance, this might not seem very effective and not possible to move an entire market. But let me inform you about a study done in the 1950s called the Solomon Asch study. Participants were given a very simple task of determining which line of A, B, and C was closest in length to line X. Seems pretty easy, right? However, in some tests, participants were surrounded with multiple actors who were all instructed to give the wrong answer of C in an experiment to see if this would influence the participant and that they would change their answer even though the obvious answer is B. After over 12 trials, overall, 74% of the participants, when surrounded by the actors, gave at least one incorrect answer of the 12 trials. And when asked why they gave the wrong answer, the response was just to go along with it. It shows that a little bit of peer pressure can go a long way, and people will contradict their own beliefs just to go along with the crowd. And if I can even remotely use this principle to peer pressure landlords to reduce their rent prices, then I would mark that as a success. So how are we actually going to do this? The next challenge is, how do we contact these landlords and homeowners? Do I physically go to the open house showings and just go ballistic? Do I start knocking on people's doors and yelling at them with a microphone? Or do I build a little Chrome extension to scrape Craigslist postings, find the worst ones, and use AI to send them heinous emails? As much as I would love to just let loose in person, I think we all know the answer here. So the plan of attack here is to 1, get the rental market housing data. This will probably be done through Craigslist. Then number 2, we need to sort the trash from the treasure. We need to determine the good listings from the bad listings, and I'll show you my criteria for doing that later. Then number 3, once we have those bad listings, we need to craft an email using AI to send to these landlords and try and convince them to lower their price. So that's the plan of attack. Let's get started. So to get data on the rental housing market listings, we will be building a Chrome extension. And if you haven't built a Chrome extension before, it's easier than you might think. It took me under a day to get it working on my browser with this fun little pop-up going. Working with Craigslist, however, to get data is the complete opposite. It is a true pain in the ass. While the website itself might look like it was built in 1995, their security system is from like 2030. It keeps hitting me with these captchas every time I try and interact with the website with code, and it completely blocks me from getting any data on this page, but I have a little bit of a workaround for this problem anyways. So instead of tackling the entire country, because of this limitation, I can now only focus on a city, but we do have data for one city, so we can move on to the next step. In this next step, we now need to determine the good listings from the bad listings. In our Craigslist postings, you can see that both the price and the square footage have been provided. And together we can create a metric on the price per square foot. And I'm going to set the bar at $5 per square foot. Any more than that is just ludicrous. For reference, a 500 square foot place, which is still objectively very small, you should be paying at most $2,500 for that. And I know that's still incredibly high. You would be amazed how many listings are still well above this metric. With that criteria finalized, we can now move on to our final step. To send an email to these landlords, I don't want it to just be a basic AI generated message. I want it to strike fear in these landlords. I want it to specifically piece apart every horrible detail in the listing and have these landlords crying. And to do that, we can't just use a basic GPT model. We need to use a concept called agentic AI. Instead of having just one ChatGPT to talk to, imagine you had 10 and they were all sitting around a conference room table, bouncing ideas off each other and working together to generate the perfect email. And I must say, some of these examples I'm about to show you are beautiful. Let's now head over to a full product demo. So here we are on Craigslist. You know, you might be looking for the house of your dreams, but in our case, I'm looking for a landlord to terrorize. As you'll notice on the top right here, we have our little Chrome extension, and we just will run a little scan. And after the scan's done, it's actually quite fast, it opens up this beautiful page here. And what this page does is it basically takes all those listings that we just saw and it'll flag the naughty listings, as you can see here. So if we go through these, let's take a look at, say, let's open up this one here. So a 500 square foot apartment for $3,400 in Kitsilano. Oh my God, see, this is ridiculous. This should be at most $2,500. I know Kitsilano's kind of nice, but like, let's be real here. Okay, so, obviously I'm not happy with this listing. So what we do next is we do generate email. Here we go. So I always like how it sort of starts out ambiguous. I stumbled across your listing and I must say it left me speechless, because then the landlord will be like, oh, maybe we have a bite here. Maybe somebody's interested. 525 square feet of charm. What a privilege it must be to pay. Okay, so this is where we start to lean in and get mean. No wonder the housing market is having an identity crisis. Please consider revisiting your pricing. It might just transform this listing into the dream home you've so eloquently described. See, while it's not mean, it definitely throws in a couple jabs and then politely ask them to price it better. So then I'll just copy it to clipboard. If I want to, I also have a suggestion where if I want to modify this, I can type in a prompt here, but I think this one's actually kind of good. It's a little clever. And then I just hit reply. So this is where I can't do it programmatically, is because if I were to click on this with code, it would not let me do it. Then we just click Gmail and put our little thing in there. I also, of course, need to sign the email with Best Candice, and then we'll just send that off. Housing market, no longer a crisis. Here's another one that I came across. $4,500 for this? This is just absurd. I don't understand how a landlord can look themselves in the mirror and think somebody's actually going to rent this. This is helping nobody. I mean, I had to go after this one. So this is what the AI ended up generating. Standard opener here. Let's break this down, shall we? For the price of renting a broom closet, you've thrown in a luxury queen sofa bed and a private balcony. But wait, there's more. The privilege to pay extra for parking. Parking isn't even included. I must commend you in your creativity in redefining the word spacious. Wow, I'm amazed. Perfection. It's clear you're aiming for the gold medal in Greedy Landlord Olympics. And then the standard close. This is just beautiful. While I didn't necessarily get a response from this email, I know they gotta be reconsidering their life. This is a penthouse price tag for a broom closet space. Let's do the Yaletown one. Okay, so this is one of my favorites here. You know, fair enough, it does have a nice view, but it's still incredibly small and has a sky-high price. But if you look at the description here, I did notice a typo here. It says features 7 bedrooms, 1. I think this 7 is a typo here. So I was curious to see how the AI would react to this. And sure enough, the listing mentions 7 bedrooms, but I suspect this is a typo. A Freudian slip, perhaps, revealing the lofty dreams behind this skyscraper price. Wow. Again, wordplay here. Are you kidding me? A Freudian slip? Beautiful. I could do this all day. Furnished condo, 2,600 for 440 square feet. This is like, sure, it's furnished, but this is still a lot of money. This is still not a great price. Okay, so you know what we'll do here? We will generate our lovely email. 440 square feet of exquisite compactness. What a privilege it would be. The experience to reach the fridge from the couch without even standing up. Perfect. See, this is what I mean. It's calculated perfection. A terrific open kitchen. See, like, let's just see. What does it look like? Okay, yeah, it's definitely interesting. Okay, so let's copy that. Take it to Gmail. Yeah, that's the summary. And then you can keep doing this. Takes about 30 seconds per listing. And next thing you know, landlords are terrified. It's a studio apartment, but the photos do not match at all. So you know I had to go after this one, because why are there stairs in a goddamn 460 shoebox studio? So I ran it here. I generated the email, and this was the email that it came out with. I stumbled across your listing. It left me absolutely speechless. You know, the classic opener there. What a privilege it would be to pay over $2,000 to be able to smell my kitchen while trying to fall asleep. Beautiful. The breathtaking views of Cole Harbor must be extra special, as they seem to come with a hefty $5.11 per square foot price tag. And while the floor-to-ceiling glass windows might have a panoramic view, I can only hope they also come with blackout curtains to shield me from the blinding glare of financial reality. Wow. AI will be taking over the world. Well, like, with that perfectly crafted sentence, are you kidding me? So I've been sending emails for about 3 weeks now, and I've sent around 30 total. It's definitely still early, and while I haven't quite had the effect that I wanted, what I assume is that the large majority of landlords have just me living rent-free in their minds, and they're too broken to even respond to my emails. But there was one small glimmer of hope. I did get a response from this one landlord, and they basically admit that they're overpricing the unit. They verbatim said that we understand this property may not fit everyone's budget. And if you have any alcoholics in your life, you'll know that acknowledgement is the first step. I also got a few responses from property managers, not necessarily the landlords themselves, but this is good news because property managers get paid on commission on the number of suites they rent. But you see, if the landlord wants it priced at a higher price, they'll be stubborn and say, no, you have to list it for this. But the property managers actually want it listed for less so that somebody will move in sooner. And you see, if they get an email like mine, they can use this as evidence to convince the landlord to bring the price down. While small, there is some progress here. And I just want to remind you that this is only the start. And if I leave you with one message, I would encourage you to maybe spread a little hate as well. If we can continue this for a couple months at least, together we can transform this city. A couple emails a day can have ripple effects on an entire economy. We can no longer be the generation that is gouged by this cost of living. And it starts by tearing down one greedy landlord at a time.